Here we go. It is April the 17th, Easter 2022. Was the Easter Bunny good to you? That is the question. It's great to be here on an Easter Sunday for those that are going to be joining us today as well. We do have a special guest that's going to be heading their way in just a few moments. First off, just to kind of give you weather-wise what's going on in my yard right now. Well, in my yard right now, there was some snow that I woke up to this morning, but that's kind of typical for this mid-April period of time. And I just hope that as things go on, that we're going to be able to have a good season overall. I'm just going to verify and check over here that I got everything rolling and working and everybody can see us and say hello this morning as well. So I'm just going to update this right here. So I got two screens. That's how we work away. I'm a one-man show that's here, by the way. And indeed, we are live right now. So without further ado, look, I'm just going to do a couple of good mornings there. Just, we got to show these people out there. There's good morning from Bonnie. We have a good morning as well this morning from Crystal Allen. We have a good morning as well. Where's the other one right there? This one here is from Corey Barber, my buddy. Stud. He's calling me a stud. Thanks, Corey. I needed that today. Thanks. I really did. Good morning, Frankie. Happy Easter. I overwintered my geraniums in brown paper bags. Now what do I do? When do I plant them in soil? And when do I place them outside? Thank you so much, Paula. Paula, the time to plant them is now. You're going to be planting them in pots, indoors, in a potting soil, in a bright room, west or south facing. Those geraniums will then go outdoors after we're going to see some of the frost leave. And so that could be mid-May to the end of May, all depending. And, speaking of geraniums, I'm going to bring somebody on right now who is very versed in the world of geraniums, versed in the world of plants as well. My good friend, Tanya Carvalho, who is the Canadian Territory Manager for Ball Floor Plant and Selecta One. Boom. There's Tanya right there. Good morning, Tanya.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. So just for those that didn't join us last week, tell me a little bit about your job, what you do, and kind of a day in the world of Tanya Carvalho.
Well, like Frankie said, I am the Territory Manager for Ball Floor Plant and Selecta One North America. We are one of the largest breeding companies in the world, and we ship all of your vegetative cuttings into North America. So like Frank mentioned, your geraniums, things like salvias, calibrachoas, petunias, and we work a lot with trialing these products. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, is some new introductions and how we trial them out into the growers and the garden centers the year before they launch. So pretty exciting stuff.
So for people out there not versed in what vegetative product is, what does that mean? Because you remember, you're in the greenhouse world. I'm in the greenhouse world. Right. People watching this right now are not in that world. So break it down. What does it mean?
So for your annuals, for example, you have different types of plants that we grow. We grow from seed. And we also grow from vegetative. And I used to tell people, even in my family, when they would ask, what do you do? Vegetative reminds me of a little piece of parsley. It's about this big, and it ships into growers all across North America. And we stick those cuttings. Millions and millions of cuttings are stuck every year from mid-December right through until now. We're still sticking cuttings. And we grow these in the greenhouse. Some crops are very long and can take up to 5 to 6 months. And some crops are a little quicker. But so you have two different types of plant material coming into North America for annuals. You have seed and vegetative.
A lot of people don't know, they hear about music royalties. A lot of those cuttings have royalties on them. Why? Like they do. And why do they have royalties on them?
For example, sometimes a breeder might have a specific item that is very popular, and they share that with other breeding companies or in other parts of the world, other brokers. I work exclusively with Ball Seed. That is my broker that ships into Canada. But you do have other companies that want to be able to sell your product. So when it comes to that, you would then have a royalty on that item.
And so it's a crazy business as well. A lot of people think gardening is just like people snipping plants off other plants, some other plants doing that, but it's an international business with breeders right across the world.
It is. And luckily I get to travel the world, literally, and see all different breeders' genetics and be on the selection committee for our own breeding companies, which I take a lot of pride in. It's a very exciting part of my job.
Yeah. How many times will you be to Europe in the next 6 months?
I will be there 4 times in the first 6 months of this year. I go again in a week and a half.
Yeah, you were just back too. So let's take a look at some of these new introductions as well. I'm going to share my screen here, and if you can tell me whether you see that, Tanya.
I do.
Okay, so starting off, tell me a little bit about what we have on screen.
So the first 2 slides, I'm going to be talking about introductions that were done last year, but they were really big introductions in the fact that they were awarded AAS awards. And AAS, for people that don't know, is the All-American Selections. These genetics are trialed all over North America in trial gardens, and information is gathered on their performance, how floriferous they are, sometimes whether they're fragrant, do they hold their blooms all summer, just things like that. And it's quite a detailed process. And so to be awarded 2 of those awards this year was really quite something for my breeding companies. And we actually have 1 award from Selecta One and 1 award for Ball Floor Plant. So once you're out, if you ever do get a chance, you see Frankie talk a lot about going to trial gardens. When you get to some of these trial gardens, they will have a designated area that is called AAS, and that's where you'll get to see some of these award-winning items. So first up, we have new for 2022. So this year was Beets Verbena. And verbena, you'll see a lot of the times in your mixed combinations, hanging baskets and planters. And we have one specific color here that won the AAS award, and it's purple and white. So this is a very dense verbena, doesn't do well in really large containers, does well in more small and compact containers. And you can see it there in the bottom left. I show a picture of it in a small bowl. So really nice for your patio tabletop. And we have it in 6 colors, the whole series. But that purple and white, just really quite stunning. Beautiful color. Next, I have, of course, the bee's knees. So anyone that follows myself, and I know Frank mentioned it a few times in the past year as well, bee's knees was the most saturated yellow petunia introduced to the market last year. It was a big deal because typically in the market, yellow petunias struggle. They struggle for the grower in production, and then they struggle in the garden because they do tend to fade out and just be a weaker color in the petunia series. Well, this petunia was awarded the gold medal, and a gold medal award for a petunia hasn't been giving out in something like 50 years from All-American Selections. So a very big deal for us at Ball Floor Plant, and we are so proud to be bringing that petunia to the market. This is exciting. Last year, Frank, you talked a lot about beacon impatiens.
Yep.
Beacon impatiens
yeah.
and you do them in your yard. I have pictures from your yard of the beacon impatiens.
Yeah.
The beacon impatiens were bred by Pan American Seed. And I'm sure a lot of people here on your channel know that downy mildew, I don't know how many years ago it was, Frank, maybe 6, 7?
Yep, just underneath the decade, like within the last 10 years.
Yes, took down shade impatiens. And by take down, I mean you would go and you would plant these shade impatiens, and come middle of June, your bed of impatiens just would be taken to the ground and completely dead. That really rocked the horticultural world. It was one of the #1 selling annual plants in the world. And here we were with this disease that would just take these beautiful plants down. So Pan American Seed went to work and bred beacon impatiens, which are a single bloom impatient. Now, Ball Floor Plant, teaming up with our Pan American Seed sister company and our West Chicago office, our Helix office in Chicago, we bred double impatiens. So when this disease took down impatiens, it took down all impatiens. It took down singles and doubles. And doubles were a very important item in the market, a very big seller for Mother's Day. They're beautiful rose-like bloom. Well, for 2023, Ball Floor Plant is introducing Glimmer. This is a brand new double impatient series that is highly resistant to downy mildew. What that means for the consumer is that, sorry, go ahead, Frank.
Will you see any of these in 2022 in small numbers? Just
yes.
Yeah.
So I was going to actually mention that. Thanks for reminding me. If you're out in a garden center this spring shopping and you see some of the items that I mentioned today, I would love it if you would pick 1 or 2 of them up and bring them home and share your feedback with me through my social feeds. Just shoot me a message. Let me know how it's doing. We like to sneak peek these out to growers across the country and across North America. And they then send them into the garden centers to get feedback from the consumers. So it's really important to us in the trial process to get your feedback, the end consumer, because really we breed for you. We need to be breeding products that you want to see in your garden, and your feedback is so important. So we have 7 colors in Glimmer Double Impatiens this year. You will be able to find some of them in your garden centers. Beautiful rose-like blooms. I'm really excited to be on the team that's bringing this to North America for 2023.
So from flower, we go to foliage.
Yes. Always have to talk about foliage. It is, it took off a few years ago as an indoor plant, everyone talking about house plants, and that just extended out into the garden. And I think the reason for that is because it is so easy for the home gardener to maintain coleus. A few pinches throughout the season, and you can maintain the shape of your coleus any size you like. At Ball Flora Plant, on the vegetative side, we breed for sun and shaded coleus. So not only do these work in your dark shaded corners of your garden or your patio, they also work in your full sun areas. So coleus is a very important part of that foliage sector in the garden. We have a couple new introductions. We had one new introduction last year that was super cool. It's called Spitfire. And it reminds me almost of a fern. It has frond-like petals on it. Very, very dense, very, very saturated in color. And you can see myself there with my little Kaya. It stays nice and compact and tight. So if you want to put it in a small mix or as an edging in a garden, it works fantastic. For 2023, we're introducing Microblaze matchsticks. So you can see it doesn't have the pinks in it, but it's a dark, dark chocolate brown. Chartreuse edging, very serrated edge. Again, very dense, very small in stature. Very great for low maintenance gardens, sun or shade. So we just mentioned, I just got back from Europe, and I always like to go and visit garden centers when I'm in Europe, because they always tend to be a little bit ahead of us, about a year, a full season ahead of us. And for the last 4 years, every time I'm there in a garden center, pollinators is all the conversation. Everyone's talking about it. There's massive displays of bees everywhere, butterflies, getting children involved in pollinator gardens. And we were really challenged a couple of years ago by our product managers and our breeding team to start working towards more and more pollinator items, kind of bring the pollinator party to our garden. This year for 2023, no exception. We are bringing a bunch of new pollinator plants. We've got my favorite new introduction from Ball Flora Plant. This is Angel Dance Angelonia. And you see these bicolored blooms, tall stalks. These look really great in a mixed container or at the back of your garden to give some height. And this is one of those items where I know that you'll be able to find locally sourced in garden centers in Ontario, because we have quite a few growers that are trialing it. One is, for instance, Garden Gallery. Frank will be having these midsummer in containers for anyone that would like to see that Angelonia. Another one is Blue Chill Salvia. Mystic Spears is one of our top selling salvias. And this Blue Chill Salvia is just a little bit lighter in tone, more of an Arctic blue color. And the hummingbirds and butterflies love that salvia. We had it in California. There I am holding it in California, and a shot of the hummingbirds. As we were moving the plants around, the hummingbirds were like aggressively attacking our heads because they didn't want us to touch their feeding feast there. Yeah, another one we have is Lantana.
Lantana. I will say the Mystic Spears. I've had it in many gardens. And a lot of the times people don't know what color actually attracts many pollinators, like butterflies and hummingbirds and bees. Blue is actually a really strong color to attract them.
It is. And red as well. We had a huge salvia bed at the Toronto Botanical Gardens last year. And it was interesting to watch the hummingbirds and all the photographers. The photographer feedback at the TBG was that the male hummingbirds really, really went for the red salvias, and the female hummingbirds were more attracted to the blue. And I didn't know that. So that was something I picked up from all of our photographers down there. Yeah. Another new item for 2023 is these two new colors of Kufia, the cherry bells and the sugar bells. This is the first white Kufia to the market in this compact habit form. They stay very dense and controlled. Typically, you would see a Kufia that gets quite large and spreading. These stay nice and compact, so perfect for like 12-inch, 13-inch containers. And they mix so well with the other pollinators. You can see in that picture, I have Angelonia and Lantana mixed with that Kufia. So that would just be full of bumblebees all summer long. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about osteospermum. Osteospermum I think of as the classic English garden type of look, a daisy. Everyone loves the look of a daisy in their garden. And we have a plethora of osteospermum that we breed. This series is called Zion, and it's from Selecta One North America. They're bred for heat tolerance. So mostly you would see an osteospermum not try to flourish in the heat of the summer, but the Zion series keeps going and keeps pushing out beautiful blooms. And this is a pink bicolor. I think I have more pictures, Frank, if you go to the next slide. Yeah, there we are. So we had Purple Sun, which we introduced a few years ago with the orange and the purple. And for 2023, we're introducing Pink Sun. Pink Sun takes on these multi-tones. You can see when the bloom first opens, it's almost a solid pink. And then as that bloom ages, it gets the yellowing edge. Very, very pretty traditional daisy look. And they're fantastic in the garden and in containers. Sky petunias. Selecta One was the first breeding company to bring sky type petunias to the market with their big introduction of night sky. And this was years ago, back when I was working at Bradford Greenhouses. I was so excited when we finally got to have these sky type petunias. Well, now we're bringing two new colors for 2023 and an upgraded color to our pink sky. So red sky, we're calling it strawberry sky for 2023. It is a softer red, more cherry tones to it. If you go to the next slide, Frank, I'll show the other colors there. So that picture on the left, that's at California Spring Trials about 2.5 weeks ago. We have a pink sky improved. And what it means when a breeder introduces an improved item, maybe the genetics are a little bit older, or it's weakening, or there was something, maybe the blooms were closing up in weather, not performing in weather. That was the issue we had with Pink Sky. It just wasn't performing with the rain and the wind, and it would open up as a plant as a whole, and the petals would get very soft. So we've been working for 4 years to improve this, and this Pink Sky is fantastic. It's my favorite color in the lineup, so I'm really excited to have an improvement. And then we have a light pink sky, which a much softer palette, still great performance, speckled petunias. I'd love to hear your audience feedback on what they think of sky petunias.
I love them, by the way.
Yeah.
I love them. And I actually love Carnation's dianthus. Nice little hardy plant that can take a little bit of cold as well.
Yes, this is probably one of my favorite plants that I get to work with as a whole out of everything that I work with. And the reason why, they're fragrant. They are like workhorses. They're so durable. And it's what I was doing in Europe actually a week and a half ago, was looking at dianthus selections for 2024 and on 2025. This one I brought home last year on February 12th from a local Ontario grower here, and kept it in my house until May 1st. And then I potted it up and moved it outside, and it flourished all summer long. And that's one cutting can produce those 3-4 tones of pink and white. So we don't typically see that. If you plant a carnation and it's a pink carnation, it's pink all year. These blooms last about 3 to 4 weeks. So when the bloom first opens, it's dark pink. And then as it starts to age, it goes to a lighter pink until it finally ends up about 4 days before the bloom is finished, it turns into a white. So it's just a gorgeous plant. It's a bullet. You could drop this thing in the garden, knock it over by accident, and it just looks just like this. It's gorgeous.
after it's done its bloom cycle, all you're doing is just pinching, removing those flowers off, and it'll reproduce additional blooms.
Yep, just keeps pushing out blooms. So it would be my morning coffee ritual to sit on the porch and deadhead my carnation, and then you just get a plethora of new blooms coming up behind it. So there it is, that top right corner, that's at my house last August. So you can see all through the summer, just kept pushing blooms. And you can see the different tones and the color there. And the center picture, that's at California Spring Trials a couple of weeks ago. It's just a beautiful plant, and I love the name. It's called I Love You. It's gorgeous, and I know that we've had some of it here in the local grocery chains. For the past couple of years, we've been trialing it. And they've had great success. I think it's really important that we educate the consumers, the home gardeners, that this is a plant that you can bring home in February or March. And it'll probably be the last plant you have to get rid of come the end of October, because that plant at my house had snow on it, heavy frost. We had snow last May. So it took a beating and just kept going. This is just some of the new introductions of carnations that are going to be coming to the market here this year and next year that you'll see at your garden centers and grocery chains and box stores. So super exciting. Pink Kisses there in the center. Pink Kisses is the #1 selling carnation in Europe. I believe Selecta One shipped over 100 million cuttings into Europe for 2022. So huge numbers, and the consumer there knows what that Pink Kisses is going to do for them in their garden.
And just for everybody, these are annual carnations.
For the most part, there's quite a few varieties up there. We have Everlast in the top, well, my top right corner. It's that violet blue color. That's a perennial. So Selecta breeds both pot carnations and perennial carnations and cut carnations. So you can, when you're out in the garden center, make sure you're looking at your tag to find out what zone hardy it is, if it's a perennial or pot carnation. That I Love You that I showed you, that's a pot carnation. So I didn't have it past November last year, but the Pink Kisses I've had in my yard in a container, and I moved it into the garage and overwintered it, and it came back. So we have quite a few varieties in the marketplace that are perennial. And that's just a sneak peek of some of the new introductions. There are plenty more, but that's just a few of them.
That's great. That's always fun stuff. I see that we still have Paula's message up there. Boom. There we go. So with that, people will be seeing some of these introductions in their garden centers, but it's really important to let people know that each and every year, the plants that you see at your garden centers are some of the tried and true varieties, but they're always constantly trying to improve the performance, disease resistance, insect resistance, long bloom period, a little easier in terms of deadheading and things like that. These are all the missions that breeders are doing to make your garden a better experience.
And so that's why it's so important to hear from the end consumer. A lot of times we get stuck in a breeder bubble. And, you know, we communicate with other people in the industry, our growers, our retailers that are putting together your garden center programs. You know, Frank and I, every time we get together, we end up talking genetics and plants. It's just what we do. But it's so important to have a home gardener's input as well, because if we don't have that, how do we know what to breed for next? #1 question, and maybe your audience can help me out. We were talking about coleus.
Right.
So our breeder, Laura Mazer, love her to death. She's just incredible. She breeds our Angelonia, our Calibrachoa, and our coleus. We always have this in-depth conversation every year about, does the consumer want the coleus to bloom? And do they understand what happens when it blooms? So when your coleus produces a flower, a bloom on the top of it.
It looks like a spike.
It looks like a spike. What actually happens is the energy in that plant goes to feed that bloom. That's what it wants to do. It wants to make that bloom thrive. And it stops sending energy to the rest of the plant. So the conversation always comes up is, we want the coleus foliage, the colors, the rich textures. We want those to thrive. But then do people care whether it goes into bloom? We breed for really late blooming coleus. We don't want your coleus to bloom until the end of August, if possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see what your followers think. Do they like coleus to bloom or not?
Well, we'll ask that question. We'll see what answers we get here as well. I also want to show you a comment that's there. Here's a comment for you. Can you see that? It's from Janine. There we go. Which is always kind of fun as well. You know what? There's lots of people out there saying Happy Easter to us today as well, and to the boys as well. Kind of final thoughts. What are some final? Well, first off, we have a gift and we have a prize that we're going to be giving. So what we're going to be doing for that is for anybody that shares today's little broadcast that we have here. So you share it to your friends so that you can let your friends know what's new and exciting happening in the world of some of the annual introductions. By you sharing that, that's going to enter you into a draw that we'll randomly draw. We have some prizes from you.
Yes. I have a Bluetooth speaker. I have a beautiful glass tumbler, some hats, and some pop sockets. Lots of stuff in my goodie bag to be added to that prize, Frank.
And I'll get you a Frankie Flowers ball cap and a Frankie Flowers notepad to add to that as well. So once again, all you guys have to do is just share. So share this little broadcast that we've done today, this Facebook Live, no matter where you're watching on Twitter or anything like that, just share away and we will make sure that you're entered into that draw. And we'll let people know probably by Tuesday on who's going to win the draw as well. We got a good morning from Perry Sound as well. You know, some of these.
Lene wished us a good morning and happy Easter.
Oh, Lene was the Canadian Tire manager. Well,
yeah, Garden Center
manager. So we know a lot of these people from a lot of these smaller communities because they all sell plants, grow plants, and do plants. So final thoughts for today. What do you think?
Happy Easter, and let's get outside and let's get gardening. I can't wait.
And can you do me a favor? Keep me updated on all your travels and on what else is going on in your world. How can people follow you? What's the easiest way?
My handle is Bloom Diva on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me there, and I look forward to everyone's feedback. And I'm really looking forward to our cruise, Frank.
I am too. Yeah, you're coming on the cruise. There's a couple other people coming on the cruise. Mm-hmm. So you got Tanya. That's one of the, the basically territory managers with a lot of plant knowledge. Mm-hmm. We have some growers that are joining us as well.
We have some growers. We have K&K Greenhouses is coming. We have Kemper's Greenhouses. We have Foxwood Greenhouses is coming. My mom is coming. We have my girlfriend Janine White coming. We have some local Bradford people are coming on the trip as well. And I just recently invited Susanna Ball. So hopefully she can join us. That would be super.
That'd be great. Well, I thank you for joining us today, by the way, as well. And happy Easter to you. I'm going to answer a few questions before we go here, but I'm just going to say goodbye to you at this moment.
Bye, guys. Happy Easter.
Ciao, ciao. Happy Easter.
Bye.
Okay, so let's just go to a couple things here. We're just going to give a couple shout outs as well, where people are saying some happy Easters. There's a happy Easter as well. There's a happy Easter today from Kim. Let's see if we have a question. This is a great little question that we have here, which a lot of people are going through. Carol King, started my seeds last weekend and now need some warm propagation weather. It's not a question. It's actually, you just need some warm weather. It will be around the corner. Don't worry. It's just a slow little climb, and almost it's better for our plant material in our exterior gardens that we are going through a little bit of a slow warm up instead of that immediate quick warm up. By the slow progression, it's actually easier on the plants to come out of their winter dormancy. And if we actually get things to go and bloom and we stay a little cool, those bloom periods last longer. Is it possible to remove the comment at the bottom of the screen, overwintered geraniums? Sorry about that, guys. We're just getting used to everything that's here. So when we were operating the slideshow, I couldn't see some of the comments that were happening. So we removed it in time, and we're sorry about that as well. There's a good morning from Carol King, another one as well. Here's another good morning this morning as well from Rosie. Happy Easter to you. This is from Nicole. Nicole, happy Easter to you and your family. Where can I find your book, Food to Grow? I've looked everywhere for it, and I can't find it. Help. Want my veg garden to grow and prosper this year. Nicole, if you could do me a favor, send me an email, frankie@frankieflowers.com. What's happened is it's sold out everywhere. I'm trying and wanting for my publisher, HarperCollins, to put to run another print of the book. And the more emails I get, the more demand that I can prove, and then I can get them to print some more copies. So that's what's going on with that. You can also find it at your local library. If you just want to go to your local library, most libraries do carry it. So you can also just take it out from your local library as well. So good morning, and thanks for your awesome show from Sylvia in Brampton. You guys are welcome. It's my pleasure. I'm going to try to improve it each and every week and try to do a little bit more for you. Replying to Nicole, you'll need to order online. It's not available in stores. As a matter of fact, even online, it's really hard to find right now unless you find it as a used book. Are those carnations perennials? We asked the question, Lois, and know well, some of the varieties that we showcased today are perennials, but the bulk of those are annuals. Just check the tag, always to know your zone. If you want to know your zone, just type in your community name into Google and just put what zone am I? Usually pretty easy to find out. Here we go. There's a lot of, this is what I love about our community as well. You can actually, I was able to order the book on Kindle. You can get digital copies of the book. So the print copies, the hardcover print copies are sold out, but the digital copies, you can get a digital copy. A lot of the times people like to have the books themselves. There's another little shout out this morning as well. Good morning and happy Easter from Lacey. We have right here. Let's see what this is going to go on to as well. It's absolutely amazing what goes on in the process, seeing Frank's Family Garden process in person. It's just overwhelming. It shows how much care and love they put into their love for your garden. It's from Dennis. Dennis, yes, there's a lot of work going on right now. You know what? This week, what I'll do is I'll shoot some behind the scenes of what's going on at Bradford Greenhouses and just let you know, a lot of the times when you're walking through the store, at least the Bradford store, you can bump into my uncle, you can bump into my son, you can bump into my father, you can bump into my cousin, and even on occasion, you can bump into me. Here we go. One last one. Do not want the blooms on the coleus. That's from Wendy. Wendy, thanks for sharing that as well. So just another reminder, if you share this today, this little broadcast that we've done, whether you watch this on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, if you share this, that's going to enter you into a draw. That draw will allow you to win that Bluetooth speaker, an excellent little cup, and just some other Frankie Flowers materials as well. We thank everybody for joining us today on this Easter Sunday. I hope the Easter Bunny is good to you. And always a reminder, gardening is way better than therapy. Why? Why do you say? Because at the end, gardening makes you feel good and you get tomatoes. My closing line each and